Sure. Here's a rewritten version of your full HOA story, keeping the length and plot intact but using fresh wording, sentence structure, and flow to maintain originality and engagement. I bought my farm for the peace and quiet, a place where the only traffic was the occasional deer trotting across the gravel path. For a while, it was everything I hoped for. But that peace didn't last. About a year in, the neighborhood just over the ridge started using a dirt trail through my land as a shortcut. It wasn't a road, just a worn path utility trucks had once used. Somehow, word spread. And soon, it wasn't just one or two people. I started seeing sedans, pickup trucks, even golf carts rolling through like they owned the place. Welcome to Prodigy Tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more outrageous HOA stories. The worst offender? Karen, of course. She was the president of the local HOA and drove a loud, bright yellow Lamborghini Urus across my field like it was part of her estate. One day, I flagged her down. "This isn't a public road," I said firmly. "I need you and your neighbors to stop cutting through." She cracked her window just enough to speak. "Oh please," she scoffed, adjusting her oversized sunglasses. "We've been using this path for months. Bit late to complain now, don't you think?" "No, I don't think so," I replied. She gave me a smug grin and said, "What are you gonna do, arrest us?" Then she hit the gas, spraying dirt all over my freshly seeded ryegrass. I didn't react right away. I tried to be civil. I posted, "Private property," and "No trespassing" signs near the trail. Within a week, 2 were knocked over. One ended up being used as a wheel chock for someone's kid's dirt bike. I even confronted an HOA board member who was idling in the middle of my land, sipping an iced latte like he was at a drive-thru. "Come on, man," he laughed. "It's just a shortcut." To them, it was just a quicker route. To me, it was my home. My soil being torn up, my animals getting spooked, and my insurance agent warning me I'd be liable if someone got injured. That's when I realized, people like this don't understand polite warnings. They only respond to consequences. So, I decided to build something they couldn't ignore. First, I blocked the trail with an old flatbed truck. Karen drove around it, right through my orchard. Then I hung a plastic chain with bright red flags. That lasted 2 days before someone cut it and dumped it in my irrigation ditch. Next, I set up a motion-activated camera to catch license plates. Someone spray-painted the lens. I tried traffic cones. Karen plowed straight through them and waved at the camera. So I called my insurance guy and asked, if I dig a trench on unused land that's clearly marked and entirely on my property, am I liable? "As long as it's not an easement or legal road, and it's visibly marked," he said, "you're fine." Perfect. I waited for a rainy forecast and spent Saturday digging. It wasn't a trap, just a shallow trench about 3 feet deep and 5 feet wide. I marked it with bright orange stakes and posted a weatherproof sign, "Private land, trespass at your own risk. Not a public road." Then I covered it with a light tarp and straw, enough to obscure it but not hide it entirely. Anyone with common sense would stop. I even sent a final email to the HOA board titled, "Final Notice, Illegal Shortcut Use." I outlined the risks and stated the trail was now closed due to liability concerns. Karen never replied. The next day, I saw tire tracks again. That's when I stopped thinking in terms of fairness and started thinking in terms of boundaries. And as I looked at the fresh mud prints carving through my field, I knew Karen wouldn't stop, until something stopped her. That something was waiting. It was a damp Tuesday. The kind where clouds hang low and the ground stays soft. I was on the porch with a thermos of coffee, listening for engines. Hers was easy to recognize, deep, throaty, overconfident. I heard it before I saw it. She crested the ridge, speeding down the trail. Tires flinging mud. Completely undeterred. Right up until the moment the front of that Urus slammed into the trench. The front wheels dropped in hard, the nose dove, and the rear end bounced before crashing down. The SUV sat stuck, steam hissing from beneath the hood. She didn't move at first. Then the door flung open, and Karen stumbled out, stunned, staring at her car like reality had just slapped her. Her designer boots sank in the mud as she stormed around the wreck, yelling into her phone. I didn't get up. Just kept sipping my coffee. About 40 minutes later, a tow truck arrived. The driver took one look and muttered, "That's gonna cost a fortune." As they struggled to pull the SUV out, I heard metal groan. The undercarriage scraped. One of the exhaust pipes bent. The suspension looked mangled. The driver winced. Karen screamed. And me? I smiled. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about finally hitting a line even she couldn't cross without consequences. As the tow truck hauled her car, caked in mud and dragging parts, Karen turned toward my porch. Our eyes met. She didn't say a word. Just glared. I raised my thermos in a silent toast. She turned away, furious and humiliated. I braced for retaliation. A lawsuit maybe. More HOA nonsense. Instead, silence. By Thursday, I got an envelope. Official HOA stationery. They wanted clarification about the obstruction I'd placed on what they called a historically used route. I replied with a single sentence. The route in question is private property, never designated as an easement, and is clearly marked as closed. I attached GPS data, property surveys, time-stamped emails, and pictures, including the Lamborghini stuck in the ditch with Karen ankle-deep in mud. That shut things down. By Monday, no one used the shortcut. Not a single tire mark since. It was over. Karen. I still see her now and then. Forced to take the long paved road like everyone else. Rumor has it the dealership refused to cover her repairs under warranty, something about owner negligence. Supposedly the suspension alone cost over 20 grand. She doesn't wave. Doesn't speak. Avoids eye contact entirely. But I don't need an apology. Because the silence, the detour, and the fact that shortcut is now permanently closed, that's more than enough. One afternoon, I was fixing a fence post and spotted her car crawling on the far road. She glanced toward the old trail, now overgrown and forgotten. Then hit the gas and vanished. And I tipped my hat to the ditch. It did its job. No threats. No violence. Just one clean, clear message. This land isn't yours. And now you know it.